I'm elected, the first thing I really want to do is actually get student involvement. I want more students to be involved in activities and clubs and whatnot. But what I also want to do is actually be the voice of these students. I want to understand what they want. I want to understand their needs.
I want to increase communication between clubs. I think SLC would be a great medium to kind of do that. Student life is where clubs are made, and SLC should be a place where clubs can go and trade secrets.
I would like to increase student involvement, by at least starting off with the small steps, getting a few people to get involved so that over time the amount of people involved at this school will be increased.
And I feel I could bring all their ideas and make it into one big whole one to accommodate not only the students who bring these ideas up, but everyone else as well, to be beneficial for the community.
So the biggest thing that I want to accomplish is making sure, like I said, that what the students need is heard by the Board of Trustees. These people are people who, they're very qualified to make decisions, but one thing that they don't have that I do have as a student here is the experience.
What I want to accomplish is what the previous administrations had started before is continuing on with the Multicultural and Diversity Center. And then I also want to try to reaffirm a relationship between students, faculty, and the Board of Trustees and the other administration outlets here at College of DuPage.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Sonia Paul. Should probably use this. Okay, so I'm running for the Board of Trustees, and what I wish to do at COD as the Board of Trustee is utilize my experience as an involved student here on campus to communicate the students' needs to and from the board. So I'm part of many different clubs on campus, 7 or 8 of them, and as a person who's involved on campus, I believe that I have experience that other people on the board don't. So I can kind of use that experience as a student to communicate what the students need and what the board needs, and communicate those things back and forth. I believe that as a trustee, as a person on the board, you need to have those skills to communicate. It's a huge part of it, something I want to work on myself. I believe you have to have open-mindedness. You have to be able to hear everyone's voices, which is one thing that I definitely want to work on as well. And then the reason why I'm running for this position is primarily because I want to work on time management and bettering myself. One thing that I've learned from being part of so many activities is that I shouldn't spread myself thin, and I think that I should focus more on quality over quantity. So that's the main thing that I want to get out of this position. And that's it. Thank you.
My name's Brody Stayskull. I'm running for president. Sonia and Alex are actually helping me with this campaign. They're a huge help. And we're creating a type of platform that's run on 3 words: opportunity, representation, and togetherness. And we'll each kind of take that theme throughout our campaign next year. And kind of how we're going to do that is go to different clubs, because I really think that clubs are the life source of college. You have to go to your classes, you have to go to work, but if you make time for these extracurriculars, you can be in one of the top 3% that most people don't have. Out of the 26,000 students at COD, I think only about 5 to 7% of them are in clubs, and that's a big problem. The clubs that I'm an officer for Entrepreneurship Club. I go to Latino outreach meetings every once in a while, Feminist Alliance, and I'm actually trying to start my own club, Rotaract, which is part of Rotary International, and it's just a service-based organization.
So, my name is Brenda Talachi Valencia, and I'm going to be running for student body president. And my main concern is to be able to have more of student representation in the school based on how other students have told me and responded to the questions I've asked of how they how involved they are in school, which is not very much, as well as looking for more food options in the cafeteria, specifically Muslim students, for the fact that I have many friends who can't find many options, other options than what is in the cafeteria right now, and as well as wanting to push for a concern that many students have had, which is a parking lot. And a club that I've been very actively involved is the Forensic Club, which you guys might not know it as that, as speech and debate. And I feel that having that skill is very important to be able to communicate clearly and concisely with everyone, and being able to express their voices is something that I'm able to bring to the table and represent my student body.
Hello. Hi. I'm Denise Kalma. I'm running for student body president. I believe that everyone has a voice regardless of how active or inactive you are on campus. And I feel like if I become president, I can be the picture of the students that are willing to like step out of that comfort zone, because a lot of times people who are inactive are shy and feel like maybe they can't, I'm not up for this. So I feel like once they see someone who's willing to step out and make a difference, then they can become more active and realize, oh, maybe I can, and with time, step out and make more of a change in the community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Carbonell. I'm running for vice president, and my goal with this is to work closely with Brody and Sonia to increase student involvement, and I'll just make campus feel, make our students feel more together and more united. I personally talk to a lot of people, and I believe that putting that to use would be very useful in being able to be a conduit for students to reach board members and more people who have more influence in the decision making that goes on at the school.
So before we begin questions, president candidate has arrived, Yasmin Isa. So we'll end off with your candidate statement and brief intro, and then we'll jump into questions.
Good afternoon, fellow student bodies, administration, and faculty. My name is Yasmin Isa, and I'm here sitting, seeking the privilege to serve as a 2018-2019 student body president. So the big question is, why am I running? I want this position because I've come to spend a lot of time here at the College of DuPage. It's more like a second home to me now. And this to me brings the perfect opportunity to get involved and contribute to help establish a fun and better experience for future students. So the reason why I'm running is I'm running because I want to make COD a better place for all of us.
We're now going to begin with audience questions, and we would just like to clarify, although you have 1 minute and 30 seconds, you are not required to fill the entire time with each question. The first question that we have is for all the candidates. We'll start from closest to me and work our way towards the wall. The question is, what is your definition of leadership?
To me, leadership has always been being the person who takes the initiative over other people to basically get your message across, to represent people, and being the first one to volunteer and to be the most willing to make decisions is the biggest sign of leadership to me. That's it.
So personally, I see leadership as someone or some people willing to get a whole spectrum of views from people, regardless of whether they're one side or the other, and then coming to an agreement, and then trying to use that agreement to further benefit the students as a whole.
Well, what my definition would be is someone that not only pushes themselves to their best potential, but someone who pushes everyone else around them to what they can do, and organizing a team effort to do what's best, not only for themselves but their community, and bring out the best ideas they can to their platform.
For me, leadership is more about listening. It's about listening to the people, being able to understand what you're saying and being able to judge accordingly. It's about acting. It's not about sitting here and telling someone what to do, but about getting up and helping them to do something. So to me, a leader is not really a leader. It's more of he or she would be the heart of the people. So to me, a leader is the people.
Yasmin makes a really good point. When a lot of people think about what a leader is, they think about the person giving directions. What they say is the loudest person in the room is also the loneliest. But really what a leader is someone who can lead by example. Elon Musk works 80 to 100 hours a week just to keep his company afloat, just because if he works more hours than the next person, then he's putting in more work, he's being a better leader, and he's putting cars into space.
To me, being a leader is not really about the role of being a leader, it's more about being part of the team, actually. I'm actually president of Psi Beta on campus, which is the Psychology Honor Society, and I find that I am the exact same as the other students in the club. I just have the title of a president. So I'm someone who's like, I wonder what my degree is going to be someday. I want to learn about psychology like they do. I don't know what my career options are. I'm learning as they are, and we're going together. So that's my biggest thing about being a leader. And that also ties into what I want to do as a trustee. It's being part of the team, and while being a leader does mean that I do make decisions, and I listen to what everyone else, the needs of everyone else and everything. I think the biggest part is being part of the team and kind of recognizing that I'm the same as everyone else.
I think you go ahead.
Okay, so the next question, it was circled specifically for the vice president candidate, but for me, being involved, I think everybody is suited to answer this question. So it reads as follows: everyone wants to increase student involvement. What are some of your ideas about how you will do that? We're going to start with Sonia and then work our way this way.
Ways to increase student involvement?
Yes.
So I think that one of the most important things is outreach. I know that we have a lot of flyers around the school. We have bulletin boards. We have Popcorn Wednesdays, but I'm just kind of worried that those aren't reaching the students well enough. I think that something that could be useful are more incentives, I think, to get people to participate, such as I think about this a lot actually when I'm planning outreach events for Psi Beta and things like that. I think better incentives to get people to participate is better. What those incentives might be, I'm not entirely sure yet. That's what I'm working on and trying to figure out, but I think that's where we should start.
I think the student life luncheons are a really great idea, where all the presidents and officers can go and meet and talk, give their trade secrets, but I don't think it's working as efficiently as it should. It should be, I think, required for all the presidents, or at least a representative from each club, to come and meet together, either with the SLC, to kind of create how we can come up with a solution for that, how we can create more involvement.
For me, it's a very interesting question because it's actually something I actually talked about with my friends. What kept on arising was that most students actually do want to participate in stuff. They're just too afraid to do. They're saying, okay, this isn't a club for me, or I don't suit this criteria, I can't join this club, and I can't do that. I think what we need to do is actually show the student body that they don't have to fit a certain group or a certain criteria for them to join any club. We just need to show them that this is a club for COD students. It's a club for everyone. So I think the best way to do that is actually what Brody said, the luncheons are really, really good. If you have food, you have kids come in and they're talking to each other, they really interact with each other. You're like, okay, so I do understand I could be part of this club. I don't have to fit this or be that to be part of it.
I completely agree with Sonia and Yasmin for the fact that when there's students who do want to come in, they do want to join clubs, but they don't feel like they are needed there, or they don't feel like they're welcomed. So I was thinking that at the beginning of the year we have a day where all the clubs come out, but we don't have that for second semester. And I feel that we should bring that to second semester so that they could introduce new members for the following year, as well as having like a systematic way of getting information from students in a way there could be surveys for them to answer, not only through their due page email, especially through Chap Life, where they might have to go through an extra couple steps. And not many students even want to do that, where they can just go maybe in person to the library or to the campus central and just put in their voices and what they believe should be changed and their needs to feel more like participating in the community in paper as well.
I agree with everybody about their ideas with student involvement. I want to kind of build off of that as well, but and bring in maybe more cultural events as well. As I see a lot of students, when they have like their culture represented on campus, they're more active, they're more involved, they feel they're proud to see their culture being displayed. So I feel like, as well as having the luncheons, the more internet emails and all connections and all that, having that culture represented will also help increase student involvement, as it'll also bring in the students, as Yasmin has stated, who are like a little afraid to step out of their comfort zone.
I'm sorry, would you be able to repeat the question one more time? I just want to make sure my thoughts are circling around the right
so
thing.
basically, how would you increase student involvement?
So my approach to increasing student involvement, or at least my plan for it, is to bring people to get basically a foot in the door. And I believe that starting off small, at least, with student involvement, since it's so low, is a good way to just get people who are involved more spread across this campus, spread across the school. And just even something like bringing in friends into maybe like the Phi Theta Kappa room and starting up a conversation with the officers in there, something like that could turn into just a chain effect of just more people getting involved.
All right, thank you. The next question we're going to ask is for all of you, and it's, how will you manage time working with the SLC, your actual work, and school? We're actually going to start with Brenda, go to the left, and then loop back around.
Okay, so how I'm going to manage it is basically I have a book full of my schedule, and I would just put in more room, which is actually a reason why I ended up lowering my hours at work to basically only once a week, for the fact that I want to be more involved and be able to make room for something that is important to me, feeling that it'll also benefit not only myself but as well as the community, and as well make a detailed plan of what should be done, of what I want to get done, not only for myself involving school but as well as for student council.
Well, for me, like I stated earlier with my statement, is I said COD is basically a second home to me. I spend most of my time here anyway. And when I do get elected, hopefully if I do, my first thing is to actually get to know the other officers. I feel like the best way to actually create time is actually to work with their time as well. Not just mine, but to be able to put ourselves in a place where everyone feels like they're getting work done at the same time and also in a good pace. So the best thing for me to do is, I would say, it would be to actually schedule something with the other officers and see what's the best way to move forward.
My time would be pretty split up between visiting clubs. I want to expand as many office hours as I can in a reasonable amount. I don't currently hold a job right now, just because focusing on school is more important. And scheduling classes. There's actually a really cool thing on My Access where you can pick a break, a chunk of time, and I think bringing that to the SLC would be very beneficial.
think my biggest priority for next semester, or I'm sorry, next year, would be to just prioritize, because like I said, I have 7 or 8 clubs right now. I have a job, I have my family, I have my grades to think about. So my biggest thing that I want to get out of this position is time management. So what I want to work on is consistently using my planner, like actually using it, not just using it for the first few days of having it. I want to work on like cutting things out that I don't actually need, because like I said, quality over quantity is a very important statement to me for many reasons. I would work on like making sure that I'm putting enough energy into things that I want to put energy into. So I wouldn't want to stress about things that I shouldn't be stressing about. I'd want to put energy into my job and into my grades and then into this position, and not into things that, I don't want to say irrelevant, but I want to say things that wouldn't benefit me in the long term.
In terms of organizing my time, I would approach it as setting things that need to be set apart from each other, making sure that my classwork doesn't interfere with a position that I would hold here, and making sure that a job would never clash with either class or organizations, stuff like that. I'm sorry. I just lost track right there. I bet. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yes. How will you manage time working with SLC, work, and your actual classes?
So just making sure things are separate, making sure that when I commit my time to this, that things are separate from each other.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's- It's okay. I'm kind of gonna be taking things from Yasmin and what Yasmin and Sonia have spoken before. I would schedule my time to better synergize with other fellow officers and amongst clubs or SLC and advisors as well. I'd also keep a planner on me to make sure I have all the events recorded and make sure I plan in advance to make sure they don't clash with each other. And then I'd also make sure whenever I have time to focus on schoolwork, because as schoolwork is an important part when working with SLC.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is for all the candidates, and it reads as follows. What are the steps you have taken to educate yourself about the strategic position of the College of DuPage? And we're going to start with Alex, and then we're just going to loop down.
The steps I've taken.
So basically,
To-
like to put in a better format, what do you think separates COD from other schools, or what steps have you taken to find out like information about COD's position?
Well, the way I found out about this position was through, like I had said earlier, getting a foot in the door. I took my own initiative and walked into rooms where stuff was going on, where there was talking being done, and I just kind of got myself involved in the conversation. And that led to me wanting to get more involved and make something concrete with that. In terms of setting ourselves apart from another school, I think that definitely comes to our detailed and just individual decisions, making sure that we coordinate the best we can with that, and making sure that we are always giving making sure that we're always giving our best to coordinate for our goals.
Is it okay if you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so basically, what steps have you taken to educate yourself about COD in general?
So what I've taken to educate with myself at COD is getting involved with student clubs here on campus and organizations. I've also tried to attend different events that have been hosted on campus as well. I've also tried to or have been looking into more community service as well that have partnered with COD. So, and also have just been hanging and studying here on campus.
Well, what I have done is basically, when discussing with my teachers about just COD in general, I've learned that we actually have a very strong veteran program, and I want to hear more of that from other programs that we have on campus as well. And as well as like just looking online at College Edu page, just the word itself, and just looking at what has been done in the past, as well as emailing with the president, Ann Rondo, about what has been done since she's been here, or what ideas that have come up as well. And I wish to actually learn more and just increase what could be a better of our programs, such as the veteran program, by involving myself more into them and listening to what they need.
What I've done actually is very interesting because I first did not start here at the main campus. I started out at the Naperville campus. Honestly, I thought that was the school. I thought that was just it. Prior to this semester, I recently learned that no, there's actually many other campuses. And I actually went to each of them, seeing what's the campus like, how the students there. So that really got my feet wet into what College Edu Page really was like. Before actually transferring here to the main campus and actually seeing that this school is a lot bigger than I thought it was, it actually gave me the opportunity to actually involve myself more in more clubs, more activities such as SLC. But this, to be honest, I feel like getting to know COD, you would have to actually be part of COD, not just come here as a student, but you have to be involved in the activities, you have to be involved in the clubs, you need to interact with the students, talk to the teachers, the counselors, and whatnot. And thank God that's what I did. That's how I got to know more about COD. That's how I got to get involved in the clubs. That's how I got to know a lot of the counselors on a personal level.
Sonia and I are student ambassadors, so if you ever see those people with the funny green polos with the collars that are too big giving tours to high schoolers, that's what we do. So we know a lot of weird facts, like the library has 250,000 books, and if it's not there, then you can use the iShare program. But something that really helps being a student ambassador is walking around, going around the campus. Just yesterday, me and Alex, we visited the Culinary and Hospitality Center for the first time, which is a really cool experience. It's a really nice place over there. And COD just gets smaller the more you walk around. It just gets better every day you come here.
I think the biggest steps that I've taken to get to know the campus better and just to get to know COD as a school better is, like Brody said, I'm a student ambassador here on campus. That means that I know a lot of random information about COD. I think the biggest thing that, like, the fact that, like, stay in my mind the most is that COD offers over 80 clubs. And, like, I learned that it's actually really easy to start a club here. Like, I think Brody's actually starting a club as well. I think you only need, like, 3 officers, and then you need, not 3 officers. You need 3 advisors, I think, and then, like, 3 officers to start the club up, which just goes to show how easy it is. I'm part of 7 or 8 clubs right now. I have a few leadership positions, and I just love how easy COD makes it to be involved on campus. Like I said, I think that there should be more incentives to get more involved, but, like, besides that fact, though, COD does encourage involvement, and I found that, like, I've gotten involved so easily. I've learned so much about the school, and that's what stands out to the most about COD to me, just how easy it is to get involved and how they encourage that.
Okay, so next question is for everyone. We're going to start with Sonia and work our way back to Alex. What current SLC initiatives do you think are successful and would continue to promote?
One thing that I love about what we do in SLC is the outreach, actually. We have like these windows right outside the office that we draw on, and like we invite people into the office. I just love how friendly SLC is, I guess. That's the biggest thing that stood out to me. I think one of my first days of school, actually, I walked into the office and everyone like greeted me with open arms and smiled at me, and I think it was like the most at home that I felt at COD in that moment, being like a scared freshman. That's definitely the biggest initiative that they take that I love. I just love how like they encourage you so much to join. Like, I think just the other day, actually, Alex walked into a meeting that we were having and he was like, sorry guys, I don't want to interrupt, you know, you guys seem to be doing something important. I don't want to just walk in the middle. Everybody just looked at him and smiled and said, come on right in, come join us, we'd love to have you. And that's what stands out to me the most about SLC and like what we do to bring people in.
Talking about what I would continue, I'd rather start with one of the problems. You only really hear about SLC at the beginning of the year and around election time. And I think that kind of needs to change. You know, we have really great programs here like Pulsera. We have the Hunger Banquet. I know you guys helped out with Phi Theta Kappa with the human trafficking seminar. So those are all great things that I want more frequently.
I totally agree with Rody about not hearing about this club until like usually just around the election time. But I feel like what needs to happen more is the students need to be involved more in COD, mostly through I would say social media would work fine because that's where most people are right now. Social media, and what I really like right now what you guys are doing is the 2 o'clock meetings where you usually have food, you invite students to come in to talk about important stuff with the student, even if they're not members. I think that's something that needs to increase more, spread the word a little bit more. Maybe you could try going into like different classrooms and maybe drop a letter with the professor saying, oh, can you just announce this at the end of class or at the beginning of class, or something like that. Just something to actually keep the word going around. It just doesn't die down after some big event and then comes up again.
I have to say I very much agree with that as well, of not being able to know about the club, or the fact that I was mostly involved with my time in the speech club and itself being time consuming. When I heard about SLC at the beginning of the year, I heard of it just like as any club. I heard just all the names being told out, but then when I realized a couple weeks ago they do a lot that lots of people don't know about, and the fact that I like it got interesting. And students, as before, if we go back to the question, a couple questions beforehand, lots of students want to get involved, and I think get invited to a meeting for the I think a couple weeks ago, but I like how inviting the people are, how nice they are, how they want you to get involved. They want you to put your own ideas. They want to hear from you, and I just want more of that coming, to keep coming, and to have the students get more involved.
Personally, I see I've seen some of the successful initiatives have, as Brody stated earlier, the Pulsera project and the Hunger Banquet. I also feel like some of the progress that this administration and I think the previous administration has done before has been advocating for the Multicultural Center as well. I believe that has also been successful. And I feel like when we have the collaborations with other clubs, whether it be like honor societies like PTK or I believe Psi Beta, they've also been successful as well. And I feel like they can continue more in the later future.
I do enjoy the popcorn events that we have every now and then, and I think that it's a great way of putting ourselves out there. It's with our location, with the SLC's location, the room is like when people go to Starbucks and they have classes over in the Health and Science Center, every time they make that trip, they're passing pretty much by the SLC, and that is good exposure. But I do feel that getting more people involved would be it would be a way to better the amount of people who are getting involved here.
So the next question is also for all the candidates, and it reads as follows. The Student Leadership Council has worked on expanding the Diversity and Inclusion Center on campus. What is your position on this expansion, and will you stay committed to it throughout your term? We're gonna start with Brody, and then we're gonna go to Sonia, and then come back around this way.
Yeah, so I talked to David. He was running the Black History Month, and he was super excited about that. You know, I'm in Latino Outreach Office every once in a while. So yeah, I'm all for the Diversity Center. Continuing on with that, I think it really is the SLC's obligation, and that's where the consistency has to come from, you know, because if we don't do it, then who else is going to do it?
I think one of the most important things about being in a leadership position to me, as like a woman of color, like as an Indian girl, like being in these positions, it means a lot to me, I guess, just to like show other Indian girls and other people like me and minority groups that like they can do it and that I can do it. And that's one thing that I want to stress about being like on the board as an Indian girl. Diversity and inclusion means a lot to me. I was actually also talking to David Swope, and he was really enthusiastic about it. It's something that he has so much energy about, and I feel like I have that same sort of energy with the matter as he does. I agree with what Brody said about consistency. I think that like the biggest, most important part about like getting something done is consistency. It's not starting something, it's carrying through with it and having the same amount of energy at the end of it that you did when you started it. So I think that's the approach that we have to take when it comes to like continuing the diversity.
I've honestly, I've never been involved in anything with diversity, although I would like to in the future make myself feel more at home. I am Hispanic, and I do at times find myself feeling a little bit alone, but I think that it'd be nicer to, in terms of bringing people together, to have club involvement across that promotes diversity increased.
First of all, I would like to say that the expansion for the Cultural and Diversity Center is a great idea, and I feel like it should continue moving forward. Going off of what Brody had mentioned earlier, that consistency is important. So I feel like if I enter office, I will continue what the previous administration had left before and try to build off of that, and hopefully continue to make that progress necessary for it to be completed, and then hopefully welcome the students as they enter in the new expansion.
Well, I believe, yeah, it is important for the fact that I see compared to other years, I've seen so many people proud of who they are, bringing it out and just enjoying and embracing what they are, who they are, as myself included. And we should continue it for the fact that by showing that we can go through with an idea that was brought up and is going through from the previous administration. It shows that we can do something. It gives us credibility, and it gives an idea that people want to join our club. They feel that their ideas are important and they'll be pushed through, and that they can make a difference as well.
Well, I'm going to start off with a quote. A wise man once said that a single straw will not clear a room, but together we can clear the world. I really do believe in that. I believe that making a multicultural center is a great way of bringing the world into the COD campus. We're adding more diversity, more culture, heritage, and whatnot into this beautiful place already. So I think it's a great way to actually move forward in this matter. And something that's very interesting is our country is actually based on diversity, so why not our school as well?
Thank you. So this question was originally specifically for the vice president, but I'm going to open it to all candidates. As president and vice president, one of your duties you are charged with is student appointment to college-wide committees. How do you plan to effectively appoint students and ensure representation on these committees? We're going to start with our vice presidential candidate, go to Brody, then Sonia, then Brenda.
Well, as I've been saying, the whole foot in the door thing, I believe that if you are able to get a few people into the room and get them involved, that it will down the road lead to just effectively close to like exponential, and like a major increase in the amount of people who get involved. Because if you are even able to get a few people in there and you increase the size of your group, it's more of a widespread effort, and what you stand for in your organization or club is better spread across the campus.
Can you please repeat the question?
It's actually just for the vice president and presidential candidates.
Okay.
So, if this
Oh,
is
did I?
I
referring,
think you said Brody and then Sonia.
Oh, did I? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Brody, Yasmin, Brenda.
Okay.
Pardon that. And then Denise.
so if this is referring to the secondary election, I think, this forum right here is a great example of diversity, consistency, and you can see it in their campaigns as well. There's an 80-20 rule that you guys probably have all the time. What it basically is 20% of the people do 80% of the work. You get it all the time in your class group works and everything like that. So how can we find that 20% of people? That's kind of the next question. Is we kind of already have them highlighted right here at this forum. Other examples are club presidents, club officers, but if we get those people, they'll get the majority of the work out there. They'll get the majority of their group. So higher collaboration, higher transparency would be a great way to do that.
I totally agree with Brody. I mean, anyone already working hard enough to come here and be here today definitely has something to show for it. But what I also believe we can do is actually, before you appoint or assign something to someone, make sure you know who they are and what they're capable of, and try to know them on a personal level and try to see is this person really fit in the role I'm trying to give them, and you can just work your way from there.
I'm sorry, may you repeat the question, please?
Yes. As vice president and president, you are charged with the student appointment to college-wide committees. How do you plan to effectively appoint students to ensure proper representation on these committees?
Well, then I completely agree with you, with Yasmin, that by having, you have to appoint someone based on what is not only known from them as a, publicly, but as well individually, because you want to get to know them. You're going to be working closely with them. You want to know who to appoint and know that they'll get the job done, and as well as having like a diversity within that group to have different ideas, to have different perspectives. And by having that diversity, you will kind of, in a sense, create a domino effect. You'll get so many other people wanting to join, to be part of it, and not even getting ideas from the officers or those appointed. You'll get them from those who want their voice to be heard as well.
In terms of college-wide committees, I feel like I'm agreeing with what Brody had mentioned, that the roles need to be a little bit more transparent, because I feel like a lot of students, they kind of do know about these college-wide positions, but they don't know everything about it. So I feel like with more transparent idea of the roles will allow students to understand what these roles mean, and then hopefully, again, I'm going to take what Brenda and Yasmin have stated. We get to know the best people necessary, and then knowing those roles and appoint them in the roles necessary.
Great, thank you. This question was originally for president candidates, but I feel it's only appropriate to open it up to everybody. It reads as follows. You are elected president of the college tomorrow. What is your first task? We're going to start with Alex, and then we're just going to circle straight down.
If I were elected president tomorrow, I would want to find out what I have the power to do and how how much influence I can bring in, like, with my position. And then I talk to people and try to get as involved with the community, as involved with the student body as I could, and find out what people want right now and try to act on that.
If I was elected president tomorrow, I'd start appointing the right people to make sure I understand what the tasks are set up for me, so I know and I have the check necessary, so I don't go and in case I misunderstand something, I have someone there that will help me understand something I may not have the knowledge of, and then afterwards spread outwards and continue and then get involved with the community to establish a base and understanding within the community at large.
Well, what I would do is first, I'd like to get to know all the other people I'd be working with. I'd like to not only know them on like the professional level that I'm supposed to be knowing them on, but as well like personally, because I'm going to be working with these people very closely. I want to know what they are, what they like, what they find as pet peeves. It's better to work in an environment where where you know everything that will make your kind of in a sense work life much easier. And then I would work on administrating surveys and just seeing what it is that the students want first to be done, to see what it is that is important to them by making them as accessible as I can make them, and by just finding out what is important to them.
The first thing I would do is actually try to make our team stronger. I would like to get to, like you said, I like to get to know the other officers well on a personal level. But then what I also want to do is actually talk more to the faculty, because I know they've been here longer than we have. They know more about COD, they know the in and out, they know the old COD and the new COD. I really want to get to talk to the other faculty, to administration, to see what COD has to offer students. And then again, I really stand for high quality education across all fields of studies. This is something I really hope to expand and improve. And I really like COD's eagerness in providing these academic resources. So because of that love for knowledge, I really want to make sure that COD offers quality resources for students to create quality students. So that's one thing I'd also want to start doing as soon as I get elected.
One of the advantages I have is that I'm already friends with Sonia and Alex, and also Danae as well. I'd also love to get to know the other presidential candidates. But after that, I would increase communications within different clubs, so make SLC kind of a medium to have this platform where they can communicate more. But yeah.
So like the other candidates said, I think that what I would do first if I was elected president tomorrow would be to get to know everyone around me and the people that I'll be working with. Because going back to the leadership question, I think one of the biggest parts of it is knowing who you're working with and knowing the people around you, not only on a professional level, but on a personal level if you can as well. I think that I would work to find a common ground between me and everyone around me as well, because if you can find that common ground, what you have in common with everyone else, whether it be something small, like the fact that we all go to COD together and we're all students here together and we're all in the same community, or something bigger, like maybe values that we share, I think that's a huge part of leadership and just working with the people around you.
All right, thank you. Next question is again for all of you. Recently, COD was taken off probation contingent on that it meets certain criteria that are met over the next couple of years. What is one thing you could change about COD that would help improve student success at the college? We're going to start with Brenda, come to me, and then loop back around.
Okay, so what I feel would be something that I would want to make others successful is first learning what it is that these students find the most successful way to learn in a classroom. Some students they prefer having a one-on-one with the teacher, or they prefer to just individually by themselves. And so I'd like to find a way to have to create so that teachers can get to know their students at a more personal level to see what it is that makes them understand better. Because I know some students it's harder for them to learn in the classroom, and they don't go and ask for help. And I just want them to be able to know that they can go to not only their teacher, but to the Learning Commons, and to just get to see what it is that's best for them to learn.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. So basically, if you could change one thing about COD to improve student success, what would it be?
Personally, I would change the lack of transparency between the Board of Trustees and the students at large, because when a lot of students, when asked about the Board of Trustees, they may not know all of them exactly, besides the student trustee. So personally, I want to try to build more of a relationship amongst them, starting off with more students understanding what the role of the student trustee is, and then building, and once understanding that, then building off and then connecting more with the board as a whole.
Well, I like how accommodating the school is in terms of just of everyone who comes in, and I feel like this school definitely does a good job of making sure of looking out and trying to accommodate students the best that they can. If I were to change one thing about how students are accommodated, or change one thing about how the school runs things with that, I would change I'm honestly not. I feel like changing the amount of honestly, I haven't had any problems with in terms of my own being a student here, so I'm not really aware of too much yet.
So I really like what Brenda and Denise said. They both made really good points. Brenda, you mentioned that we need to listen to more like what the students need in terms of learning styles. That's one thing that I found to be very true. In terms of learning, I find that I need much more one-on-one attention between the teacher and me. Like, I can't just learn in like a classroom setting, and I found that like it's the same thing with a lot of my friends. So one thing like that we can get from that is that we need to increase the communication between the faculty and the students. And that leads into what Denise said about how like she wants to like make the relationship between the Board of Trustees and the students better. I agree with that as well, because like the people on the Board of Trustees are making decisions for the students that'll affect the students' everyday lives. And I think that if we have communication that's like much better between the students and the board and the faculty at COD, things would be much better for the achievement of the students. Because without communication, then you don't really get anywhere. Like, you need to be able to like say what you need back and forth, like whether it be the faculty's needs or the students' needs, and then find like a good middle ground between those.
Big transition from high school into college, student leadership-wise, is in high school you're usually planning dances and fundraisers and stuff like that, but at the college level, you're really dealing with real politics. You know, there's a Board of Trustees that you have to deal with. We're adults now. That's a huge thing. Something I'd like to change, though, and something that we can carry on from middle school and high school, is club involvement. There is a strong correlation between graduation rates and extracurricular activities, and getting in more involvement would help with that.
Well, I like like to believe that the Learning Commons is sort of the heart of COD. I believe that, well, like I said before, education is really important, and that's the reason why we're all here right now. And I really believe that with the Learning Commons right now, it's in great shape. It's doing great, but I feel like it could be expanded. It can be improved because right now some courses aren't actually. I don't want to say moved, but you can't really get tutors in some courses, and I believe that could be the downfall for a lot of students if they're not able to find someone to help them with something they're not able to understand in class. And if we expand the Learning Commons, make it a place where students feel free to come in, get help in any subject, any matter, I think that would be something that would actually improve student success.
I think we're moving on to closing statements. All right, so go ahead, Sonia.
Yep, so now that questions are finished, I will have Alex start with the closing statements. If you guys just want to close your questions and end off with like a statement for why you're here.
Well, thank you for coming here today, and my goal at the end of all this is to just make more people get involved. It's just to have more people involved at this school so that we have a greater ability to make changes and to include more people with whatever opinions that they might have so that we can represent what this school needs more.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone here for attending this forum. I want to reiterate that I want to have more student involvement here on campus, but I also want to make sure that there is to build more relationships, whether it's student to student, student to faculty, faculty to board of trustees. Regardless of that, that still needs to be continued, and I also feel that student involvement is the key necessary to do all that's needed.
Well, again, I'd like to thank you for coming and hearing what it is that we want to do and change. And just my biggest concern out of everything is just me wanting to be able to have the power to go and create more student representation by having their voices be heard through surveys, through through surveys and online, in person, to make it accessible for them, as well as just creating more food options in the cafeteria for students, specifically bringing like halal meat out, and just because I know that lots of students find it harder to find certain food in the cafeteria to like kind of meet what they like, as well as just creating, again, more student representation and me being able to bring that out to you guys.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the crew for standing here like pretty much an hour doing the whole thing. I'd like to also thank the officers for setting this whole thing up. I'd like to thank all of the students that came here and asked them questions, trying to get to know who your candidates are. My closing statement is actually pretty the same as my opening statement. It's just that I'm hoping that with this position I'm able to be your voice. I'm able to represent you, not just as COD, but DuPage in general. I'm hoping that with this position I'm able to interact with you guys, understand what you want and what your needs are, and able to actually bring those to happen.
With or without this position, I don't think it would stop me. Visit more clubs, become more involved on COD. You know, there's a lot of I going around, but what really makes a good president is think about a bigger picture, we or us, because together we can really get things done.
So like I said, as a student trustee, what I'm going to do is utilize my experience in all of my clubs to just create a better environment on for student life, for students and for faculty. I'm part of all these clubs. I'm the president of Psi Beta. I'm an officer for Feminist Alliance. I'm part of SLC, Best Buddies, a student ambassador, Love Your Melon. I have all these different clubs, and since I'm so involved, I might as well use all that experience that I have in these leadership roles and communicating with other people to make it a better place for everyone. Thank you.